Hello, this is Klaus Jensen and welcome to another video game analysis. This time I'll present a game played back in 1964. It's an important game from the Amsterdam Interzonal between David Bronstein as white and Bent Larsen playing black. The Interzonal in 1964 was surely a second career milestone for Larsen. The first milestone was to become Grandmaster after scoring 77.8% on board 1 in the A final of the 1956 Chess Olympiad in Moscow, the highest score of all board 1 players in that event. And this was surely the second milestone since he managed to tie for first place in this tournament with Russian chess giants Smyslov, Tal and Spassky, all scoring 17 out of 23 points in this event. Larsen played a lot of very good games in this tournament, and the one you're about to watch is of course no exception. It was played in round 19, and at this point Larsen and Spassky were leading only half a point ahead of Bronstein, Smyslov and Tal. A lot of comments in this game are Larsen's own, and there's a few from Bronstein as well. But okay, let's get started with the game. Of course, Bronstein playing white here, and the game soon went into a king's engine, and as Larsen says here, Bronstein probably knows the king's engine better than me, but I was full of fighting spirit and confidence, so I had this show me what you've got attitude coming into this game. We're playing the Auerbach variation, named after the Russian master who won a good game as white against Pano with this variation in 1954. And now in this position, Bronstein plays bishop f4. This is not the normal move in this position. Normally white would play either by bishop h4, which is probably okay for black, satisfactory for black, after knight h5 here. So the best move for white instead of bishop f4 is probably bishop d2. But okay, Bronstein played bishop f4 here, and after taking on d5 and retaking on d5 with the e pawn, if Bronstein had decided to take with the c pawn, then Larsen suggests that that black can play the very sharp b5, and after bishop takes b5, knight takes e4, black has removed one of the central white pawns in exchange for a queenside pawn from black. So this is definitely playable for black. But Bronstein took with the e pawn, and now Larsen played rook e8, taking control of the e file. And here Bronstein probably should have played castles, and then knight e4, knight takes, rook takes. And here we can see why bishop f4 is probably inferior to bishop d2, because now the bishop has to move. But still the white position is okay. But of course he has no advantage from the opening. Black has clearly equalized here, having a very good position. But Bronstein didn't castle here. Instead he played knight d2, and now Larsen played knight h5. Here white could have played bishop e3, but this is probably too risky after the exchange sacrifice here, and rook takes e3, and then after f takes, queen h4 check. Black is having a good position. Floor suggested that white could play king f1 here, but after knight g3 and queen takes h1 and queen takes here, then black is having a very good position, and Larsen is quite confident that black is clearly better here. But instead of king f1, white can of course play g3 here, and then knight takes, knight f3 threatening the queen, which moves to h3, and rook g1. Then this is very uncomfortable for white, and I think black has a more than adequate compensation for the exchange. Very promising position for black, in fact. So bishop e3 is too risky for white, and he plays bishop g3 instead. And now here Larsen considered playing bishop takes c3, doubling the white pawns in the c file, and then bishop g4, and after f3 bishop f5. This is looking good for black, but he wanted to keep his dark squared bishop on the board, so he decided not to play bishop takes c3 here. Instead he played bishop g4, and if Bronstein had decided to play f3, then knight takes g3, h takes, bishop f5 is giving white some very weak dark squares. For instance here, and this is something that black would capitalize on. So f3 is not the best move here, and instead Bronstein decided to castle, and then knight takes g3, h takes, and here again Larsen comments here that he spent a quarter of an hour studying peaceful lines like bishop takes c3, bishop takes g4 and bishop g7, or perhaps bishop takes d2, queen takes queen g5. But he thought that these lines were offering white two good chances to get a draw, and there's no doubt that Larsen, he wants to win this game, so he didn't want to play bishop takes c3. Instead he plays bishop takes e2, and after knight takes, bishop takes b2. This move was criticized by many for being too risky, but as Larsen says, no one has been able to prove this move wrong. Of course, rook b1 here, and then Bronstein comments here that Larsen spent 4 minutes to decide which square to retreat this bishop to, because Larsen was trying to win this game, and Bronstein actually asked him after rook b1 if Larsen was playing for a win, and the answer was yes. So Larsen spent a few minutes deciding where to put his bishop, and he put it back to g7, and then rook takes b7, of course. And here knight d7, natural developing move, but also threatening to catch the white rook with knight b6, after which the white rook is trapped in the black camp. And of course Bronstein has the option to retreat his rook. He could play rook b3 for example, but then Larsen would play queen a5, and then this is a very difficult position for white to defend. Both his a and c pawn will be attacked. His a pawn is attacked directly, and the c pawn is weak and subsequently will be attacked as well. So this is very good for black. But of course white could also play rook b5, and this is the best rook move according to Larsen. And here Larsen would probably have played 95, and black is having a small advantage, but no more than that. But Bronstein found another move, very interesting move. He played knight f4, searching for some initiative and clearly aiming for some kingside attack, and allowing Larsen to play knight b6, which is of course trapping the white rook as we spoke of just a few minutes ago, but also removing the black knight from the kingside, and it's hard to judge which is most important, which is most significant. Is it that the white rook is trapped, or is it that black is lacking defensive pieces on the king side? The game is very sharp now, and Bronstein finds another very good move here. He plays rook e1, and what doesn't work for black here is to take on e1, because then queen takes, and if bishop c3 here, then comes knight takes g6, and this is very strong for white. For example, bishop takes d2, and then knight e7 check, and white is having a very good position here. So this won't work for black. But he played Larsen played bishop c3 instead, and now white makes another very interesting move. He actually decides to sack an exchange and play for to get a more active position, and he plays knight e4 here. And there's no doubt that Bronstein at this point thinks that he might get a good attack in. And Larsen, he plays bishop takes e1. Bronstein thought that this move was too risky for black, and he instead had considered what to do against a move like, for example, bishop g7. But then white has probably no better than knight d2, and we can go for a repetition of moves and a draw. But Larsen, he played at full risk here. He took on e1, and now Bronstein plays another very interesting move here. He's very it's very interesting, and he plays knight e6 here. And now Larsen spent 20 minutes calculating the main line and the sidelines, and he decided to go for the main line, as he calls it. A wise choice, because all other lines are losing, according to Ripka. He takes on f2 here. And how should Bronstein react to this check? I think he started thinking that he could win this game, and he could have, for instance, knight f2, knight takes f2 doesn't work, because after f takes e6, then white has no attack left, so that would not be good. He could also play king h1, but this is a bad mistake, because now bishop takes g3, and after knight takes g8, rook takes e4. Black wins further material due to threats on e1 and h4. So that won't work for white. But he could also play king h2, and this is probably the most critical line for black. But then Larsen just suggests bishop g4, knight takes d8, rook takes d8, and Larsen believes that black has sufficient compensation for the queen. The bishop is very strong, and the white c-pawn is weak, and soon black will have attack on the white king, and not the other way around. But this would surely be interesting. But in the game, Bronstein didn't play King H2. He took on F2, and then F takes E6, Queen G4, and in this position, Larsen spent 14 minutes on a very natural move, and he noticed that Bronstein seemed to start getting nervous. He played Rook F8 check, and Bronstein, getting more and more nervous, spent 11 minutes here to play King G1, and then Rook F6, which is forced. And now the best move for White here is surely D takes E6, and now Larsen wasn't quite sure of what to do here or what to play here. He could play H5, which is a little drawish, probably, but he could also play the very risky knight takes c4. He considered that actually, but that would be a mistake, because in this sequence, after Rook F1, if White takes here on F1, then we play knight A3 check, and then Black should win actually, because he has two connected pawns here. That would be very good for Black, but instead of taking on F1 here, then White can play the very strong King H2, and now Black is in big trouble. Actually, Black is losing now, because here Queen E2, then threatening both the Rook and Knight, and after Rook C1, then Knight F6 check. So this is now winning for White. So of course the D takes E6 would be the best move for Bronstein, but he played Queen H3 here, and this is a blunder. And according to Larsen, he blundered because of the time pressure. He had 18 minutes left on the clock, and this is only move 25, so 15 moves left to play, and also nerves were starting to show. And in the game notes, Larsen more than indicates that Bronstein had problems with nerves on several occasions, which prevented him from getting the results which were justified from his enormous understanding of and talent for chess. So perhaps Bronstein was one of those players that never reached his full potential because of too many nerves. And in this game, he surely lost his nerve, because now Larsen simply plays Queen F8, and if Knight takes F6 check, Queen takes H6, then White won't be able to play for the perpetual check, because of Queen D4 check, King H2, and then Queen H8, pinning the Queen and forcing Queen exchange, and then Black is of course winning, being a piece up. So Knight F6 won't work here, and in the game Bronstein played Knight G5 instead. But then the most simple way to win for Black is the one that Larsen actually played here: Rook F1 check, King moves, and then Rook F5, and after Knight takes here, then Rook H5, pinning the Queen. Bronstein can do no better than take the Rook, and then take on F8 and Rook F8. But then this is of course winning for Black, being a piece up, and in this position Bronstein resigned here. And this game virtually secured Larsen a place in the candidate tournament, while Bronstein played his 4 remaining games very nervously, and eventually he missed the candidate tournament. A very nice game from Larsen. Good middle game actions from Bronstein, and then the blunder deciding the game in favor of Larsen. I hope you enjoyed this game from the 1964 Amsterdam Interzonal. I hope to see you on my blog at klausjensen.com. Bye bye for now.